But why are they actually good or bad? Good card design occurs when a card or cards is not overly abusable, but serves the purpose of supporting many different archetypes in some way. This is what is considered good card design, and bad card design is when something is overly abusable. What even inspired this video were two recently announced / released archetypes, one being Dogmatica and the other being Brigade. Both of these archetypes follow the same lore, but what's also interesting is they both serve good examples of good card design. Let's talk about Dogmatica before discussing Brigade. Dogmatica is an archetype revolved around sending cards from your extra deck and technically your opponent's extra deck to the graveyard, essentially an extra deck hate archetype. However, instead of it being an extra deck hate kind of archetype, it more so uses the extra deck as a resource like it never has been before, whereas instead of summoning your extra deck monsters, you're trying to send them to the graveyard to gain value, and this can be seen through most of the in-themed cards. The main outlets to dump your extra deck cards are Servant Nadir, Dogmatica Punishment, and Dogmatica Maximus. And specifically Maximus, I think, is one of the best designed cards in recent memory. Maximus has the effect to be able to send 2 extra deck monsters from both players' extra decks to the graveyard, first yourself and then your opponent. But what makes this effect so interesting is because Dogmatica is inherently a good archetype, Maximus can actually punish yourself by using its effect. So what do I mean by this? Well, if you summon Maximus using his special summon clause and then send 2 from your extra deck, sure, you're gaining value out of those 2 cards you sent, but then your opponent gets to send 2 as well. And if you're playing a Dogmatica mirror match, then you're going to be punished by your opponent sending cards like Elder Entity Ints or Titaniclad to gain value by destroying your resources and searching for theirs. But then in any matchup that is not Dogmatica, 1, you can play extra deck cards to counter Dogmatica, or 2, you're playing Dogmatica Maximus against a deck that doesn't have any extra deck hate for yourself, which in that case means Maximus is getting as much value as possible. But it's this dichotomy of different matchups promoting different routes of gameplay that makes Dogmatica Maximus such a well-designed card, and doesn't make it inherently unfair, as it gives you the option to counter such a powerful effect. And this isn't even to mention the fact that Dogmatica is so easily splashable. All of your monsters are special summons, but Dogmatica also locks you out of your extra deck if you use any of the effects, which means you can't pair it with any archetype for that matter, but rather because of this restrictive nature, you need to pair it with something that meshes much better and potentially doesn't need their extra deck as much after their initial plays or doesn't use the extra deck at all. Some perfect examples being Invoked and Eldritch. I really do believe that Dogmatica is a very well designed deck, as following this description that I proposed, the cards are not overly abusable because of these extra deck restrictions that it places on yourself, but the cards are very powerful and that they gain you a lot of advantage through different means. But additionally, they also support a lot of different archetypes because they are so impactful all through one card. This means that it can raise the ceiling of any one deck. Another well-designed archetype, as I mentioned earlier, is Brigade. This is a new archetype coming out in the upcoming Yu-Gi-Oh core set, Phantom Rage, and this set provides a lot of different awesome support, one of the most interesting being Dark World Reinforcements, which is just generic Fiend support under the name of Dark Worlds, both supporting Dark Worlds in a unique way, and it supports any Fiend deck in general, and I think that's another very well designed card. Brigade is specifically designed to support any Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast archetype. The idea is you can banish monsters from your graveyard that are either Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast to summon link monsters from your extra deck without needing link material, and this is a very powerful effect, additionally also being a very consistent engine. But like the Dogmatica archetype, while they're very powerful one-card engines that help support other archetypes in so many different ways, they're not overly powerful because they don't really break the game in some degenerate way. Sure, you can argue that being able to summon link monsters without using link material on field can be considered degenerate, but it's only degenerate if a monster you're able to summon is just overpowered. But because there is nothing like that, and all of the cards you can summon aren't fair, Brigade is another example of a very well designed archetype that has restrictions on it and doesn't do anything overly unfair, but it supports so many different archetypes in different ways, as any deck that is a Beast Warrior, Beast, or Winged Beast theme can utilize the Brigade. notorious example that probably came to everybody's mind when seeing this video was Halky Fibrax. And because this card is so powerful and so easy to access, it means any deck that can utilize Halky Fibrax should, just because of how much it does by itself. This card requires 2 monsters including a tuner, which is very easy to fulfill, whether through in-theme tuner monsters or through the use of a hand trap. Halky Fibrax can then summon another tuner from your deck. Even though you can't use its effects on field, however, you can use its effects in the graveyard, and this is so easily utilizable with cards like Jet Synchron and Mega Phantom Beast O-Line. The amount of access this card gives you through different means, through cards like Linkross and Mega Phantom Beast Auroradon, mean Halky Fibrax can do so many different things through, most specifically, the Synchro pool, but it can still access a ton of Link shenanigans depending on the scenario. This is a perfect example of a card that is badly designed for its ability to be so generic while getting you access to inherently unfair plays. I don't know if this card will get banned anytime soon, just because there's the argument to be made that this card is only as good as the cards you can access. One other problem card that was horribly designed that can be utilized with Halky Fibrax is Linkross. I actually believe that this card is one of the biggest, if not the biggest problem with the current metagame. Its ability to generate tokens so easily, especially with a card like Halky Fibrax existing, being able to get you access to a tuner to abuse with the Linkross tokens, means anything you want to do in the Synchro pool you realistically can do. Well, yes, you can make the argument that Auroradon should get hit on the ban list as well for its ability to generate tokens so easily like Linkross. The difference is Auroradon doesn't have nearly as easy access without Halky Fibrax existing, and so if Halky Fibrax is banned, then Auroradon won't see nearly as much play, except in machine strategies. But a card like that becomes unfair when every deck can access it, and that's why I wanted to include this trio in the bad example category, because I think they're a perfect example of terrible card design. And lastly, we're gonna talk about one of the most infamous cards in Yu-Gi-Oh history, Firewall Dragon, a degenerate card in its ability to constantly special summon monsters from the hand and its ability to recur monsters from the field or graveyard to the hand with co-linked material. And especially with how the game progressed, meant this card just had to go. And after a specific point, it wasn't even just in tier 1 decks that was abusing Firewall. There were so many rogue decks as well, like ABC and Vendread. Again, the lack of restrictions on this card is what made it a degenerate force in the metagame, and this is another perfect example of terrible card design.
The streets are playing with my mind.
If you guys want to help support the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to stay up to date from when my latest content comes out. Check out my TCG Player affiliate link if you want any of the cards mentioned or any trading card game product in general. Thank you all so much for watching, and with that, I hope to see you soon.